The first time I heard the alarm inside San Quentin, it sounded like the sky was breaking. Beep, beep, beep. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Heavy steel doors slammed all at once like giant metal fists. A voice shouted over the speaker, loud and sharp. Lock down. All units locked down now. I was standing in the middle of the cell block with my notebook in my hand. I had come to San Quentin to hear the untold stories, to learn the secrets of California's most dangerous prison. But now, every guard was gone, running toward the yard. One guard grabbed my arm. Inside. Now. He shoved me into an empty cell. The door clanged shut. I heard shouting from far away, boots pounding, keys rattling. Somewhere out there, something bad was happening. Something big. I pressed my face to the small window in the door, but all I could see was the gray hallway and the flashing red light. I was locked in just like the men I had come to interview. Only I didn't know how long I would be stuck there, or what would be waiting when that door finally opened. Because a few minutes before the alarm, an old inmate had told me a secret. He had leaned close and whispered, "You want to know why San Quentin is really dangerous? It's not just the people here. It's the things nobody talks about. The deals. The codes. The ghosts of what's already happened." And then the alarm began. As I stood alone in that small cell, with cold concrete under my feet, I asked myself a question that made my skin tingle. Was I about to see one of those secrets with my own eyes? The alarm kept screaming. And then, from down the hall, I heard a sound that made my heart jump. A deep, angry roar of voices all at once, getting closer and closer. Now let me tell you how I ended up inside San Quentin that day. It started early that morning when a gray prison van drove me through a tight gate and onto the grounds of San Quentin State Prison. The air smelled like the ocean and old stone. The prison sat on a hill, looking over the cold water of the bay, like a giant watching everything. I was there to make a documentary. The title was simple: The Secrets of San Quentin, California's Most Dangerous Prison. My job was to listen, to ask questions, to find the stories that never made the news. At the first gate, a tall guard with tired eyes checked my ID. His name badge said Miller. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. "That's why I'm here," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He slid a plastic visitor tag over the counter. "Inside these walls, you stay with me or another officer at all times. You follow every order the second you hear it. No questions. Got it? Got it?" We walked through a series of gates. Each one clanged shut behind us, louder than the last. The air grew cooler. The walls grew taller. Cameras watched from every corner. "This place is old," I said, looking at the stone buildings. "Over 170 years, Miller replied. "Seen a lot of history. Some of it we talk about. Some of it we don't." He gave me a look that said there were stories under the surface, buried like bones. Inside the main cell block, rows of cells rose up like metal boxes stacked to the sky. Men in blue prison uniforms stood at their doors, staring down at us. Some looked bored, some curious, some hard and cold. "That's West Block," Miller said. "One of the oldest units we got. You're going to talk to a few guys in there later. Lifers. They know things." We passed a small open room with benches. A man in a suit sat with a stack of folders. "That's the lawyer room," Miller said. "Deals are made there. Some good, some bad. Secrets start there too." As we walked, Miller began to talk about the prison's past. "San Quentin has held some of the most famous inmates in America," he said. "Gang leaders, killers, people whose names you've seen on TV. But the stories that scare me the most are the ones nobody ever hears. The ones that never leave these walls." He showed me the yard from behind a thick fence. It was a big open space with cracked ground, basketball hoops, and groups of men gathered in tight circles. The groups stayed apart like islands. "They don't mix much?" I asked. "Not really," he said. "Gangs. Races. Old rules. People pick sides fast in here. You don't stand alone for long. At least, not if you want to stay safe." I watched a man walk alone along the edge of the yard. He kept his head down, hands in his pockets, like he was trying to be invisible. A few other men watched him, their eyes sharp. "Who's that?" I asked. "That's David Torres," Miller said quietly. "Used to be deep in the gang life. Now he's trying to stay out. That's one of San Quentin's biggest secrets, if you ask me." "What do you mean?" "The danger here isn't only in the fights and the noise," he said. "It's in what happens when a man tries to change, but the prison doesn't forget who he used to be." Later, I met David in a small interview room. A thick window separated us from the hallway. A camera watched from the corner. David was in his 40s with tired eyes and tattoos on his hands. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Why did you agree to talk to me?" I asked. He shrugged. "People think they know San Quentin," he said. "They don't. They know the headlines. Not the truth." "Tell me the truth," I said. He leaned closer. "The secret is that this place runs on fear and respect. Every day is a test. Who do you trust? Who do you stand next to in the chow line? Who do you nod to when you pass their cell? One wrong move, and you remember why they call this California's most dangerous prison." He told me about the rules that weren't written on any paper. The way you never sat at the wrong table. The way you never repeated something you heard unless you wanted trouble. The deal's made with a nod, not a handshake. "But there's another side," he said. "There are classes, there are programs, there are people trying to make things better. You can be reading a book in the library 1 hour, and the next hour the whole prison is on edge because of something that happened in the yard. It flips just like that." He snapped his fingers. We talked about his past, but we kept it non-graphic. He said he had made bad choices when he was young, followed older boys into things that led straight to prison. "What's the worst thing about living here now?" I asked. He looked up at the ceiling for a moment. "The feeling that the walls are listening," he said. "Like the building remembers everything. The old riots. The old deals. The people who never left. It's like the prison has a memory and we're all stuck inside it." After the interview, a much older man walked into the room. His skin was wrinkled, his hair white, his blue shirt faded from years of washing. His name was Henry Shaw. He had been in San Quentin longer than I had been alive. Henry smiled a little. "So you want the untold stories, huh?" "Yes," I said. "If you're willing to share." He sat down slowly. "You see those walls out there?" he asked. "They've seen more than any of us. Fights. Tears. Laughter. Secrets. But there's one thing this place never forgets." "What's that?" "Who's in charge?" he said. "And sometimes it's not the people wearing uniforms." Before I could ask what he meant, the alarm exploded through the building. Beep, beep, beep. Miller rushed into the room. "Interview's over." "Locked down," he shouted. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into the hallway, where officers were already moving fast. "What happened?" I called out. "Something in the yard," he said. "We don't know yet." He shoved me into the empty cell and locked the door. "Stay here. Do not move. Do not talk to anyone through that door. We'll be back when it's safe." And then he was gone. Now I stood alone, my heart thumping in my chest. The alarm still screamed. The red light still flashed. Far away, voices grew louder, mixing fear and anger. I turned from the window and looked around the tiny cell. Metal bed, thin mattress, small sink, toilet in the corner. For a moment, I felt what it was like to live here, not just visit. To be locked in while danger moved outside your door. Then I heard it, heavy footsteps getting closer. A shadow moved across the small window in my door. Someone was standing right outside my cell. The footsteps stopped. The red light kept flashing. The alarm cut off suddenly, leaving the hallway in deep, heavy silence. The small metal slot in my door slid open with a sharp, slow scrape. I took a breath, my hand shaking around my notebook. Because whoever was on the other side of that door was about to show me another secret of San Quentin. The metal slot stayed open for a long moment, just a thin rectangle of darkness staring back at me. I couldn't see a face. I couldn't hear breathing. But I could feel someone standing there, still, quiet, watching. "Hello?" I whispered. No answer. Then, slowly, a set of eyes appeared at the slot. Older eyes. Tired eyes. Eyes that had seen too much. It was Henry Shaw. The same old man who had just told me San Quentin had secrets buried deeper than any news story. Except now, his calm, gentle look was gone. His face was tight, serious, almost scared. "Listen to me," he whispered, his voice so low I had to lean in to hear it. "Whatever you heard that alarm about, that wasn't random. You're not safe in here." My chest tightened. "What happened in the yard?" Henry shook his head. "I can't say through a door. They hear everything. The cameras. The mics. Even the vents pick up sound. This prison listens more than it talks." Before I could ask more, a guard's voice boomed down the hallway. "Step away from the doors. All inmates step away from the doors." Henry's eyes widened. "I shouldn't be here," he whispered. "They'll check soon." "But what's going on?" I insisted. "Why the lockdown?" Henry hesitated, then said something that made the hair on my arm stand up. "This isn't just a lockdown. Someone found something. Something they weren't supposed to see." "What do you mean?" But Henry had already stepped back. "They're coming. Stay quiet. Do not open your mouth if someone else comes to that door. You understand?" Not a word. I nodded. The slot slammed shut. A second later, I heard keys jingling fast, voices shouting orders, boots pounding, coming straight toward my cell. Miller appeared with 2 officers behind him. He was breathing hard. "Visitors, step to the back wall," he ordered, voice sharp. My stomach dropped. Was I in trouble? Was I being removed? Was this connected to the thing Henry had hinted at? I stepped back with my hands up, trying to do exactly what he said. Miller unlocked the door and stepped inside with urgent energy I hadn't seen earlier. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. My voice wouldn't come out. He looked me in the eyes. "Good. I need you to listen and move fast. We're evacuating you from this block." "Why?" I finally managed to say. "There was an altercation in the yard," he said carefully. "But that's not the real issue." I felt a chill crawl up my arms. "Then what is?" He didn't answer right away. And that silence told me more than words. Miller leaned closer. "Someone slipped a message during movement. It has your name on it." My heart froze. "My name?" He nodded. "We don't know how or why. But we can't take chances. You're coming with us." I followed him into the hallway, flanked by 2 officers. Doors on both sides were slammed shut. Inmates stood silently at their windows, eyes everywhere. Some curious, some angry, some unreadable. Miller kept his voice low as we walked. "You weren't supposed to hear it, but Shaw talked to you through the door." I swallowed. "You heard that?" He sighed. "We hear everything. But Shaw talking to you isn't what worries me. It's why he did." We passed the main corridor where more officers were blocking off certain sections. Radios crackled. Tension hung in the air like smoke. Miller led me down a stairway, past old brick walls and worn steps polished by decades of boots. San Quentin felt older down here, heavier. "We're taking you to the interview office," Miller said. "It's safer. We need to figure out if that message is real or a scare tactic." I walked in silence for a moment, then asked, "What did the message say?" Miller stopped walking. He looked around, making sure no one was close. Then he said it slowly. It said, "Don't trust the guards." My stomach twisted. "That's all?" I whispered. "That's enough," Miller replied. "Because the person who passed it shouldn't have been anywhere near you. Someone knew you were on this block. Someone knew your name. Visitors don't show up on any inmate list." We reached a thick steel door. Miller opened it with a key. Behind it was a small office with a table, 2 chairs, a camera on the ceiling, and a narrow window facing the San Quentin yard. "Sit," Miller said. I sat. He closed the door behind me. "Stay here. Don't move. I'm going to find out who passed that message. And why." He left the room. The door locked. I sat alone in the quiet, staring at the yard outside the window. The fog drifted over the fence. A few officers walked the outer path. Everything looked calm now. But inside the office, my heart wouldn't slow down. Henry Shaw had warned me. The message said not to trust the guards. And now I was locked in a room with a camera pointed straight at me. I stood and walked to the window, trying to get a better look outside. That's when I saw movement in the yard. A figure stepping out from behind an equipment shed. Dressed in blue. He looked up, right at the window where I stood. And then he raised his hand and tapped his wrist 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. Not a wave. Not a greeting. A signal. One I didn't understand yet. But one San Quentin clearly did not want me to see.